now we are ready to actually discuss the lazy code motion algorithm. We have already looked at a lot of examples, input-output examples on what is expected from the algorithm. But now let's look at the actual algorithm as it has been devised by researchers. So before we discuss the algorithm, we have a pre-processing step in this algorithm. And in the pre-processing step, we are going to assume that every statement is in a basic block of its own, because we want to be able to add our extra copies of the expression anywhere we like. So we will make every instruction, even though it's a straight line sequence of code, even though it may be a straight line sequence of code, we're going to make them into 10. Even if there were 10 instructions, we're going to make them into 10 different basic blocks. So every instruction will be in a basic block of its own. And then we will insert a basic block between the source and destination of an edge if the destination has multiple predecessors. So for example, if this is a basic block that has multiple predecessors, then I'm going to insert an extra empty basic block on all the incoming edges. So any basic block that has more than one predecessors, I'm going to do this. And notice that this is automatically going to take care of all the critical edges, because critical edges has extra requirements here. We are basically saying that any block which has multiple incoming edges should be, we should add empty basic blocks. So that automatically takes care of all the critical edges. And so these are the empty basic blocks that we may retain at the end of the algorithm if something was added to these basic blocks. Now with this pre-processing, we're going to basically assume that any extra copies of the expression for which the partial redundancy is being eliminated are going to be added to the beginning of any basic block, right? So for example, every instruction is a basic block. So if I add a copy, then it's going to be at the beginning of the basic block. If I add it to an empty basic block, there is nothing there, so beginning of that basic block I can add something as well, right? So I can add something to the beginning of a basic block where every instruction is in a basic block of its own, and then every basic block that has more than one predecessors, we add empty basic blocks on the incoming edges. Alright, there are going to be 4 steps to our algorithm. Our first step is going to be find expressions needed at each program point. Alright, and so what do I mean by needed? An expression E is needed at a program point if on all outgoing paths E needs to be computed. Alright, so E needs to be computed on all outgoing program paths if E was being used, if E was being computed in the original program on all outgoing program paths. So E is needed at a program point if on all outgoing paths E needs to be computed. When I say E needs to be computed, it basically means E was computed in the original program on all outgoing program paths. That's what it means, alright? So if on all outgoing program paths E was computed in the original program, then E is needed at that program point. So we're going to find expressions needed at each program point. So what do I need? I need a DFA, but it's going to be a backward DFA because I want to know what's happening after this program point, right? So is this expression being computed on all outgoing program paths? So to be able to do that, I need a backward DFA. Notice that I'm going to, this definition of needed expressions, an expression being needed at a program point requires that it's computed on all outgoing program paths, and this is actually agreeing with our requirement 2 of our lazy code motion requirements, which is that if it is not required on any of the outgoing program paths, then it should not be computed on that at that point, right? So a copy of E should be placed at a basic block only if it was going to be computed on all the outgoing program paths in the original program. Right? Because if it's not being computed on all the outgoing program paths, then on some program path, we would have computed it unnecessarily. It wouldn't have been needed on that program path, and I would have computed it unnecessarily, and I would have thus been violating the requirement 2 of my partial redundancy elimination set of requirements that we discussed in the previous module. Second, find expressions available at each program point. All right, and this is similar to the available expressions analysis, which basically means that is an expression already available here if it is available on all the incoming paths. But there is a slight twist. We are going to assume that needed expressions are already also available, all right? So if an expression is needed at a particular program point, we kind of hypothetically assume that it is computed, right? So what am I doing here? The second data flow analysis, which is available expressions, is going to use the results of the first data flow analysis, which is needed expressions. And so I'm going to say that an expression is available at a particular program point if it is needed on all the incoming paths. All right, so that's what it means. This is almost like available expressions, but with a slight twist, because we don't just say that an expression is available on a path if it is actually computed, but we also say it is available on a path if it has been, if we see that it is needed at some program point in that path. All right, so we could compute an expression E at those program points where it has just become needed and is unavailable. All right. So once we have needed and available, what do we? One idea to basically place the copies of E, which is, let's say, partially redundant. Where can I place the copies of E? Well, we could place the copies of E at those program points where it has just become needed, which means earlier it was not needed, but now it's just become needed, which means that now, because it is needed, it's safe to put it there, because I know that for all outgoing paths it would be needed. And it is also unavailable, because if it's already available, then I shouldn't be putting it there, right? When it's available, I don't really need to recompute it. So once again, we could compute an expression E at those program points where it has just become needed. So just become needed is important, because just before it may not be needed, it should not be needed, in which case I can't put it there, because if it's not needed somewhere, I shouldn't be putting in computation there. And it should have just become needed, all right? And it should not be available, all right? It should not be available, and that's coming from our second requirement. In fact, even if I just remove the word just here, just say we could compute an expression E at those program points where it is needed and unavailable, that automatically means that it would be computed at those program points where it has just become needed. Because if something is not just needed, that means it was needed earlier, then it was also available at later points. All right, so this will become clearer with an example. And so in this, this, I'm going to call this the earliest an expression can be computed. And so earliest B is a set of expressions that can be computed at a basic block B, is if it is needed at the entry of B and it's not available at the entry of B. And so that's written as needed B.in minus available B.in. I think I have slightly miswritten the brackets here. It should be needed B.in minus available B.in. So this captures the fact that it is needed at a program point, but it is not available at that program point. And finally, once I do this, then I find expressions whose computation can be postponed. So this is just saying that, okay, it's needed, it's not available, let's compute it. But recall that lazy code motion has a third requirement, which is that let's compute the expressions as late as possible, as lazily as possible. And to do that, we're going to find expressions whose computation can be postponed. That is, they are needed, unavailable, and previously unused. So if it is needed and unavailable, needed and unavailable, and so on, we're going to keep trying to postpone it until we see its first use, right? So after which it cannot be postponed, because a computation of an expression cannot be postponed after its use. So it can be only postponed till it has been used. And so this kind of analysis is going to make us satisfy the third requirement, which is expressions are computed as lazily as possible. And this is going to be done using a forward DFA, because we're going to see using a forward DFA where all can I postpone an expression that could have been computed somewhere using the needed and the available expressions analysis. All right. So this may not be a very clear exposition so far. So maybe when we look at an example, which we're going to do next, it's going to become clearer. So let's look at this example. We have this control flow graph, and this is A plus B being computed thrice. There are some paths where it is redundant, some other paths where it is not redundant. Now let's compute needed. So needed, an expression A plus B is needed at a program point if it is needed on all the outgoing paths. So notice that where all is it needed. So I'm just going to focus on one particular expression here, a plus b. Our DFA is actually designed for a set of expressions to be done in one go. But just for explanation, I'm just going to look at one expression. So the set is going to be either a singleton set or a null set. And if it is a singleton set, it means that it is needed there. And so I'm going to mark it with the needed annotation. And so the first thing, before I even start my algorithm, I need to do my pre-processing. And so every instruction needs to be in its basic block of its own. So I'm assuming each of these is just single instructions. And then any basic block that has multiple incoming edges, I need to add empty basic blocks on all the incoming edges. So I've done that in this particular figure. Now the second step is to do needed. And based on our definition of needed, I claim that for all the program points in the program, a plus b is needed. Why do I say that? Because after all the program paths, actually there are 3 such program paths, go through the last basic block where z is equal to a plus b. And so a plus b is being computed on all the 3 program paths. So it is needed on all program paths, even at the beginning of the program. So even if I look here, it is needed on all outgoing paths, because it's needed on this path, it's needed on this path, and it's also needed on this path. All right. Similarly, I can take any other program point. It's needed everywhere. So actually, it's needed everywhere in the program. Also notice that I have 2 annotations of n, which means it's needed for every basic block. One at the beginning of a basic block and one at the end of a basic block. And because every basic block has only one instruction, only 2 annotations per basic block are enough. So this is what the needed expression analysis is expected to give as a result for this particular example. Now let's see what is the available expressions analysis going to give us. So available expressions is basically if it is an expression available, with the twist that if an expression is needed somewhere, then we also assume that it has been computed. So if I do the available expressions, I'm going to find that the expression is also available at all program points except the first one. All right, because it is needed here. So at this particular program point here, it is not available. But now because it was needed here, I'm assuming that it would have been computed here. And so just after that here, it is available. Now this is where the twist is. This is different from the original available expressions, because here we are also assuming that if an expression is needed, then it is also available. It is also being computed. And so an expression is needed, is available at a program point if it's available on all the incoming paths. And so if I look at that, that basically means all the program points in this particular example. So for all the program points, the expression a plus b is both needed and available. Now I'm going to use the following definition of earliest to say that this is the earliest position where the expression can be placed without causing any extra computation on any path, and that is basically given by needed b.n minus available b.n. So an expression can be computed earliest at a basic block b if it is needed at the entry of that basic block, so b.in, and it is unavailable at the entry of this basic block. So what is a basic block where it is needed and not available? There is only one such at the entry, and there is only one such basic block in this example, and that's the first basic block. So this is indeed the first point in the program where I can compute a plus b. And you can see that's actually true, because if I just compute a plus b here, I can say t equals a plus b, and then I can just replace x equals a plus b with t, y equals a plus b with t, and z equals a plus b with t. And this would be a valid solution. However, this would be a valid solution to partial redundancy elimination, but this doesn't actually take care of our third requirement, which is the expression is computed as late as possible. So for that, we're going to do a postponable expressions analysis. All right. So what's a postponable expressions analysis? Basically, I'm going to see where all it is it is earliest. So wherever it is earliest, that's the first place I can compute it. But then I can also postpone it, and I can keep postponing it until I see a use on every path. So it's postponable at this point. It's postponable before x equals a plus b at the entry of this basic block, but then it has been used in the basic block, so it's not postponable at the end point of this basic block. Similarly, on this path, it's postponable, 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 and also postponable here, all right, but not postponable here because it's seen a use, right? So oh, sorry, it's not postponable here either. Okay, sorry, this is not one. So although on this particular path, it's a plus b is postponable till this point. On this path, it's not postponable. So one of the requirements for postponable is that it should be it can be postponed at the particular program point if it can be postponed on all the incoming paths of that program point. And so in this example, on this particular program path, it can be postponed here. It seems like postponable it's postponable here on this path, but on this particular path, it is not postponable. All right, and I want it to be postponable on all the incoming program paths, and only then I'm going to say that it's postponable here. Now this also makes intuitive sense because postponable means that I can compute a plus b here, but I should do that only if it's possible to postpone the computation here on all the incoming program paths. Even if it's not postponable at a certain location from some of the incoming paths, then I don't want to keep the computation there. All right, so that's the idea. Similarly, if I look at this particular program path here, a plus b is postponable, but here it's not postponable because on this program path it's not postponable, even though on this program path it is postponable, but we are going to take an intersection here because I want it to be postponable on all the incoming program paths. Now, this solution here is going to give us a sense of, this is the earliest I could have computed a plus b, but where is the latest I could have computed a plus b? And so the postponable expressions analysis is going to give you that answer. And from this solution, I can see that this is the last point where it can be postponed here. This is the last point where it can be postponed, and this is the last point where it can be postponed. All right, so this I can draw a frontier where what are all the basic blocks where it is postponable at the entry, but one of its successors, it cannot be postponed. At one of the successors, it cannot be postponed. So that's the last point where it can be postponed. So, a plus b could be postponed here, 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 but not here, not here, and not here. All right. And so this basically forms a frontier of postponable. What do I mean by frontier of postponable? It is postponable at that basic block, but not postponable at some of the successor basic blocks of that basic block. Right, so that's what a frontier means. And so I'm going to add a plus b at the frontier of the basic blocks, and I'm claiming that this is the best solution for my lazy code motion because it eliminates partial redundancy for this particular example, and it computes the expression as late as possible. All right, okay. So this is, I'm going to call this the latest position, the latest place, the latest basic block where the expression a plus b can be computed. And so the latest for this example will be 3 blocks, this one, and this one. All right, earliest was just 1 block, so I could have computed it there as well and I would have eliminated partial redundancy, but for lazy code motion my solution is actually different and it's consisting of 3 different basic blocks. All right, so now we are ready to actually discuss the data flow analysis more formally. We have already seen this with an example. So needed expressions, it's a backward data flow analysis on sets of expressions. So what are the expressions which are needed? All right, we're looking at a single expression, but now we can generalize it to sets of expressions. Transfer function, if it is used and it is not killed. All right, so if it's used in a basic block and it is not killed. So by used, I mean if I have in this situation, it is computed. So if I say x equals a plus b, then a plus b is used in that basic block. What do I mean by killed? If one of the operands has been defined. So for example, if I say, if I'm looking at expression a plus b, but then I have redefined a to some, let's say, value x, then a plus b has been killed. All right, so that's what ekill means. And euse basically I've already described. So that's a transfer function. It's a backward data flow analysis which says whether it has been used and it has not yet been killed. If it has been used and not been killed on all the outgoing paths, then at that program point it is available, it is needed. And so the meet operator is set intersection because I want it to be needed on all the outgoing program paths. And what's the boundary condition? Because it's a backward data flow analysis, I'm going to set specify the boundary condition at the exit of the program, and the boundary condition is that nothing is needed at the exit of the program. Right? So no expression is needed at the exit of the program, and that's trivial because we don't need to do any computation at the exit of the program. All right, available expressions. So available expressions is something that we are already familiar with. It's a forward data flow analysis. The meet operator is set intersection. The boundary condition is out of entry equals the empty set. Nothing is available in the beginning. The transfer function is also similar. The only twist here is that I say something is available if it is needed at the entry of that basic block. So transfer function is x union needed of b dot in minus e kill of b. All right. So e kill is the same definition that I had, that it has not been killed. So if it is available, it shouldn't have been killed on that particular path. And if it is needed, then I assume that it has been computed there. So so I'm assuming that needed is as good as saying that it is computed. So if it is computed, then I add it to x. Also, if there's some expression that has been killed, then I subtract it from this value x union needed. So this is very similar to the available expressions, just that computation is replaced by needed. Notice that this is an interesting algorithm which uses the result of the first data flow analysis to compute the second data flow analysis. So only after the first data flow analysis has fully completed can we start the second data flow analysis, because we require the final results of the first data flow analysis in our second data flow analysis. Alright, so in this particular example, we have already seen how this analysis is going to show that a plus b is needed at all program points, and it is available at all program points except at the entry of the first basic block. And from here we know that earliest we can place a plus b is at the first basic block. Earliest of b equals needed b dot n minus available b dot n. And so the only basic block which basically for which a plus b will appear inside the earliest of that basic block is going to be the first basic block. And so for the first basic block, I'm going to have a plus b, and so that's the earliest I can put a plus b. And that also makes sense, because if I compute a plus b right in the beginning in this program, then I don't need to compute it again, and I would have eliminated all partial redundancy. But we also want to postpone it as late as possible. So this is our third analysis. It's a forward data flow analysis on sets of expressions. An expression is postponable if it's postponable on all the incoming program paths. So the meet operator is set intersection. The boundary condition is that nothing is postponable at the beginning. And the transfer function is that something is postponable if it is earliest, which means I know that it can be computed here. So it's the earliest place I can compute it, and it has not been used. All right. So if it has been used, then I can't postpone it any further. So I subtract use. Right. Once again, what is used? If it's computed, it's like x equals a plus b, then a plus b is being used by that particular statement. So if it is earliest, it needs to be computed. It can be computed there, but it has not been used. And so that's given by the transfer function x union earliest b minus e use b. And once again, the third data flow analysis is using the results of the second data flow analysis. So we can start the third data flow analysis only after the second data flow analysis has completely finished. Alright, so this is the result that we had in our previous slide for this particular example. And now I'm going to do postponable. And so with postponable, I'm going to say that it's postponable here because it's earliest, but it's not postponable in the beginning because I haven't even seen earliest. So it's not postponable at the beginning of the basic block, but it's postponable to the end of the basic block. It's postponable at the beginning of this basic block, but it's not postponable at the end of the basic block because it's being used in this basic block. And recall that my transfer function involves minus e use. So that's why it's not postponable here. Similarly, on this path, it's postponable, 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 postponable. But here, it's not postponable. Not even at the beginning of the basic block. So here, it is not postponable. All right. Why? Because it's not postponable on one of the incoming paths. It's postponable on the second incoming path, but not on the first incoming path at this point. And so it's not postponable. All right. So what does it tell us? That this is the latest position I can compute a plus b and not any later. Similarly, on this path, it's postponable, 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 not postponable because it's not postponable on one of the incoming paths. So this is my answer for the postponable analysis, and based on that I compute latest, which is basically nothing but the frontier of postponable union earliest, right? So I take all basic blocks which are either marked as earliest using our description of earliest, which I did in the previous slide, or they are or the expressions that can be postponable at the entry of that particular basic block. And so all such basic blocks I want to consider as latest, but I only want to consider those basic blocks for which some successor is not postponable or earliest, right? So that's what this thing says, that it should be, for some successor, it should be true that either it's not earliest in that successor or it is not postponable in that successor. It is neither earliest nor postponable in that successor, all right? So that's what this expression means. And also, if it is being used in B, also then I'm going to say that it's latest in that particular B. So for example, it is late this. So let's look at this example to see what this expression is going to evaluate. Which basic blocks are going to have A plus B in its latest set, and it's going to be three answers actually. One is this particular basic block where I'm computing x equals A plus B because it's postponable at the entry, and it is using A plus B, all right? So that's why it's postponable here. It's latest here because it's postponable at the entry, and for some successor it is not postponable and neither earliest. Similarly, it's postponable here, but for some successor it is neither earliest nor postponable, and so this is latest, all right? Whereas all other basic blocks do not kind of satisfy this equation for the expression A plus B. And so we have three basic blocks in this example where we can compute A plus B in a latest way without adding any redundancy. Okay, so the idea is that once we have computed latest using the three data flow analysis that we discussed, we add T equals E at B start for all the expressions E belonging to latest of B. All right, so for every basic block, we basically figure out what are the expressions that can be computed latest at this particular basic block. For all such expressions, we add T equals E at the beginning of that basic block, and then we replace E with T globally for all such additions. So once we do this, because of our properties of data flow analysis, it is actually safe to replace E with T globally on the program without having to worry about where we place it and stuff. So just to take an example, in this example we say x equals A plus B, y equals A plus B. Our algorithm is going to say that this is the latest location where we should compute, and so that's going to say that, okay, let's do T equals A plus B, x equals T, and y equals T, and that would be the solution. And this is exactly the common subexpression elimination that we are already aware of. Now here is another example. Once again, here let's say there was no reuse of the expression A plus B, so A plus B is only being computed once, and our algorithm is going to say that this is the latest position where it should be computed, and so this is what it's going to transform it to: T equals A plus B and x equals T. Now this may look unnecessary because there was no need to actually introduce a new temporary variable T and then say x equals T, but one easy answer to that is that we can run copy propagation at the very end to eliminate all such unnecessary copies.